Just imagine how awesome it would have been to see some iconic villains get a little more time to shine, or how much more impactful certain moments would have been had specific elements been handled better. Not even a George Lucas special edition can fix or alter these prequel issues/moments, sadly, but that still won't stop fans from wondering about what could have been. So I am Gareth here from What Culture Star Wars, and here are 10 Star Wars prequel trilogy missed opportunities we'll never get over. Number 10, the Separatist Forces weren't all that intimidating by episode 3. After watching our heroes be chased around the galaxy by the Empire's not always entirely accurate stormtroopers throughout the Star Wars original trilogy, an upgrade was certainly needed for the prequel's villainous forces. And for a minute there, it looked like they may have received precisely that. During episode 1, the Phantom Menace, the Trade Federation's droid army initially came across as a quite terrifying and seemingly never-ending stream of merciless mechanical soldiers. Then, after an often quite intimidating introduction during that first prequel entry, and even some pretty epic moments in Attack of the Clones, things all got a little silly, didn't they? Most noticeably in Revenge of the Sith, the battle droids that once struck fear into the hearts of Gungans were spending more time backchatting and cracking jokes than trying to take out Republic forces. Even with the arrival of a few upgraded super battle droid troopers, there's no denying the fact that turning this once menacing army into a source of wacky comedy seriously undermined the threat of the Separatist army as the Clone Wars reached their end. George Lucas initially appeared to have created a frightening new collection of droid fighters to keep the Republic busy when given the opportunity to unleash a new evil in the galaxy, but frustratingly opted to eventually undo a ton of that awesome work in favor of a few one-liners and slapstick gags. Now I've got a quick question for you. What's your favorite droid in the galaxy? Let me know in the comment section right down below. Number 9, Boba Fett doesn't get his revenge. In one rather brutal moment amidst Attack of the Clones, a young Boba Fett is forced to watch his father Jango get his head sliced clean off by Jedi Master Mace Windu. But this young Fett never quite got the chance to fire his blasters at Windu in the prequels before he was shot out of a window by Darth Sidious in episode 3. Something that eventually felt like a massive missed opportunity to create another iconic Star Wars moment. Perhaps even more frustratingly, there was actually a time when Boba returning to attack Windu in that third entry was seemingly considered, with a piece of Revenge of the Sith concept art depicting the sharpshooter killing Mace in the flick. And while the icon would actually clash with Windu again during the Clone Wars animated series, the fact he didn't get the chance to take out his father's killer in the prequels will always be a tough pill to swallow. Number 8, super speed arrives, then swiftly disappears. Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn and his Padawan Obi-Wan Kenobi were forced to use a brand new Force power early on in episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Rapidly getting out of dodge, the two show off an awesome Force speed ability to evade a droideka standoff. Rather than dust off this handy skill whenever they needed to catch up with an enemy, or once again avoid droid blasters in the minutes and films that followed though, this Jedi tool bizarrely sprinted out of the galaxy far, far away after this first use. The fact a Jedi is never really seen briefly using some of their energy to fire themselves across a battlefield at ridiculous speeds again during these Star Wars prequels feels like a huge waste of what seemed to be a cool new addition to their arsenals. Number 7, everything to do with Padme Amidala after episode 1. Successfully tricking a pair of Jedi into thinking she was little more than a loyal handmaiden for much of the Phantom Menace, Queen Padme Amidala quickly established herself as a character worthy of being the mother of the iconic Leia Organa and Luke Skywalker. But then things all got a bit weird and regularly uncomfortable from Attack of the Clones onwards. On top of choosing to have Amidala somehow fall for Anakin Skywalker after some of the most excruciating intimate moments ever to land in theaters, Padme was then completely sidelined during episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Gone were the days of Padme taking up a blaster and shooting her way out of trouble or doing anything even remotely interesting in the series. Instead, her role in the final prequel consisted of her being loved up with Anakin, getting pregnant, crying about his turn to the dark side, and then bafflingly dying of a broken heart after giving birth to Luke and Leia. An actor as terrific as Natalie Portman was utterly wasted in what could have been an equally wonderful role. And speaking of which, number 6, not giving world-class actors the chance to show off their talent. Natalie Portman wasn't the only top-class actor who wasn't really given the opportunity to properly flex their acting muscles in the Star Wars prequel trilogy. While there was the odd exceptional performance scattered across episodes 1 to 3, the amount of talent that was wasted is criminal. The mighty Samuel L. Jackson, outside of being the only on-screen Jedi to boast a purple lightsaber, however, was regularly saddled with painfully bland dialogue, and his most memorable moments after 3 whole films involved him chopping off a bounty hunter's head in front of his son and being chucked out of a building by a wrinkly Sith Lord. Impressive. Elsewhere, the likes of Terrence Stamp, Christopher Lee, Joel Edgerton, Rose Byrne, and even Liam Neeson didn't really show what they're capable of with the right direction and material. None of their performances were unwatchable by any means, but you'd be lying if you said you weren't even a little underwhelmed by these various Oscar nominees and soon-to-be superstars' prequel turns in the galaxy far, far away. Number 5, the Jedi Generals not being in action more. One of the many tremendous moments to tumble out of this year's Ahsoka series involved both Anakin Skywalker and his Padawan Ahsoka Tano being transported back to the Clone Wars. However, those few visuals of Hayden Christensen marching across the battlefield in live-action Jedi armor were incredibly bittersweet, as they likely left many wishing they'd been treated to more of this sort of Jedi General action in episodes 1 to 3. Admittedly, if you're really craving some time with the galaxy's protectors in the middle of various battles, then the animated Clone Wars certainly has you covered and then some. But that still doesn't change the fact that the prequels annoyingly don't contain all that much Jedi battlefield action outside of Attack of the Clones' first big battle of the war on Geonosis. Perhaps if the Clone War had kicked off a little earlier in the trilogy, fans would have been able to see Christensen, Ewan McGregor, and many more don the armor and lead their clone troops into a few more spectacular live-action skirmishes. Instead, all we really got was Obi-Wan Kenobi finding and eventually killing General Grievous during a battle on Utapau, Yoda largely just watching the fight on Kashyyyk, and a few shots of Jedi Masters getting gunned down by their own soldiers in various war zones in Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. We should have had more, damn it, cause we're greedy. Number 4, the fumbling of the first ever CGI supporting character. Before this Gungan stumbled into the lives of Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi in The Phantom Menace, there had never been a fully CGI supporting character in any big screen project. But instead of creating a figure that would go down in history as both a groundbreaker and entirely adored three-dimensional addition to the galaxy far, far away, George Lucas decided to make Jar Jar Binks a silly and somewhat offensive presence in the flicks. Through no fault of Ahmed Best's, who was simply performing the role as he was directed to, Binks swiftly became one of the worst received elements of the prequels, and Lucasfilm opted to pull the character away from the spotlight in the wake of the horrendous backlash sent the actor's way after The Phantom Menace. Best at least was given the chance to step back into the universe as Jedi Master Kelleran Beck during the latest season of The Mandalorian. However, there's still no changing the fact that Lucas well and truly fumbled the chance to do something special with cinema's first ever fully computer-generated supporting character. Number 3, not enough focus on the building of the Rebel Alliance. While there were plenty of compelling seeds planted throughout the Star Wars prequels that would eventually lead to some of the subsequent original trilogy's greatest moments, the glaring lack of any real mention of the early beginnings of what would eventually become the Rebel Alliance sticks out like a sore thumb. This isn't a case of George Lucas just completely overlooking how interesting it would have been to witness the first few flickers of rebellion pop up as Sheev Palpatine's plan to take over the galaxy neared completion, though. The director actually shot a number of compelling but ultimately deleted scenes that showed the likes of Bail Organa, Padme Amidala, Mon Mothma, and other senators discussing how they could save the democracy that would soon be destroyed by the Emperor. Organa even goes as far as to note how himself and Mothma were putting together an organization that could save democracy in the Republic during the deleted moments. Now, leaving these political conversations in would have perhaps slowed down Revenge of the Sith a little, sure, but keeping these scenes in the finished article would have also given a number of underutilized characters something a bit more to do in the film, and deciding to not throw in a few subtle hints at the rebellion to come feels like yet another squandered prequel opportunity. Number 2, not enough time was spent with the villains. While the key villain of the Star Wars prequel trilogy, Sheev Palpatine, certainly got more than a decent chunk of screen time throughout the flicks, the same couldn't be said of some of the other memorable antagonists on show. When it comes to Darth Maul, Count Dooku, and General Grievous, the 3 other main thorns in the sides of the Jedi during the movies, you'll struggle to find a single fan who wasn't clamoring for more big screen time with the equally badass and captivating lightsaber wielders than they eventually got. It is worth noting how all 3 were at least given a lot more time to shine in the Clone Wars animated series in the years that followed their all too brief time as part of the live-action Skywalker saga. But those who haven't enjoyed Maul's shocking return, Dooku's compelling actions in between episodes 2 and 3, or Grievous warring with the Night Sisters, are no doubt still cursing George Lucas for not doing enough on the big screen with 3 intriguing bad guys, who sadly ended up being little more than a collection of somewhat mysterious middle bosses to overcome. Number 1, not letting other directors help bring the trilogy to screens. If the sequels have taught Star Wars fans anything, it's that bringing in a bunch of different cooks to prepare a potentially delicious trilogy isn't always a recipe for success. However, before George Lucas decided to direct the prequels he had written himself, the hugely successful and still adored original trilogy involved the creator of the galaxy far, far away, Irving Kershner and Richard Marquand taking turns directing the projects that were overseen by Lucas. So you do have to wonder what episodes 1 to 3 would have looked like had Lucas been able to convince the likes of Ron Howard, Steven Spielberg, or Robert Zemeckis to help him bring the earlier Skywalker saga chapters to theaters. If any of these talented filmmakers were given the opportunity or convinced to put their own stamp on the galaxy far, far away, all while being guided by their pal George and generally staying true to his singular vision, the issues that popped up during episodes 7 to 9, talented movie makers not all sticking to the same plan because there wasn't one, would have likely been avoided. And what ultimately became a rather stunning, if often quite soulless collection of prequel tales, thanks to the fact dialogue and directing actors isn't exactly George's speciality, could have looked and felt entirely different had any one of those other masterful directors opted to seize the opportunity and join forces with Lucas for the prequel ride. What could have been, eh? But that is our list. Now, do you know of any prequel trilogy missed opportunities that we've missed? Well, let us know all about them in the comments section right down below, and don't forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you are down there. Also, if you're into this sort of stuff, then please head on over to whatculture.com and find some more fantastic articles just like the one this video you're watching right now is based on. I've been Gareth from What Culture Star Wars. May the Force be with you as always. Cheers for checking out this video today, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Bye bye!